Okay, preppers. Today I'm going to be pickling some olives. This is a Manzanillo olive tree, and as you can see, they're nice, nice black and ripe. And so yeah, I'm just going to. It's not absolutely loaded, but yeah, there's quite a lot. There's plenty for me. All I want is one bucket full. But yeah, I'll make a start and start picking these up. This olive tree I've just put out in a front nature strip, so instead of the irregular municipal council kind of trees, yeah, they kind of allow you, if there's no tree on your nature strip, you can plant something like an olive. So I've put this Manzanillo at the front just for a little bit of it's mostly for research, just to understand how a Manzanillo olive tree grows and all that, and how to process the olives, because I've actually had a Kalamata olive tree out the back, so I've been growing olives for quite a few years, but obviously being on a little suburban house block, you know, all I can really grow is one olive tree at a time, and so rather than having it on the property, good opportunity to just have it growing out in the nature strip there. Alright, well, I'll make a start. Here's my persimmon. The most of the leaves, obviously it's the start of winter here, so most of the leaves have fallen, and what's left of the persimmons, I've really took quite a lot off and have relieved the branches, but I'm going to prune this really sharply this year. So, and I like to leave the ones on the top there for the native birds. There's one bird that sort of protects the area, and he's claimed most of the ones on top, so he can have them. Okay, so I just got a bucket of water, just so when I throw the olives into, it doesn't bruise the olives. And I'll just start making my way. But basically I want the ones that have no blemishes. So this one's got a bit of blemish and it's a little bit too soft. So I want reasonably uniform size, and I want all of them to be firm. So fully ripe but firm. So that's all I do, is as I'm picking, throwing them into the water, I just want to make sure that I've got the right one. So because I only want one bucket, there's I can afford to be really picky and just making sure that, so any ones that are soft, I'll just throw them on the ground, or as you can see, this one, it's underripe. So alright, well, I'll keep going. Okay, well, they're all picked, ready to go. Some of them probably weren't as black as I was hoping, but that's okay. They're reasonably dark, purple, and some of them are very black, but that's okay. So I'll just let them rinse off in this water, and I weighed them up. There's about 10 pounds. So what I'm going to do is drain them off, and I've got my pickling bucket here. It's just another plastic bucket. This one was for cheese. Always make sure that the bucket that you're using, if it's plastic, make sure that it is food grade plastic. Anyway, so I'm just going to drain these out, put them into my bucket, and inside I've got myself 10 litres of water boiling, along with about 600 grams of salt. There we go. So we've got a nice deep bucket, because I'm going to be adding 10 litres of water. So I want to give the olives a little bit of space. Don't really want them squashed up, and so they can, because once again, because I haven't made any cuts, so we want to have enough water in there, or brine solution. Okay, so we've got our steamy boiling hot water. So again, 10 litres of water. It was about 800 grams of salt, so it doesn't need to be as strong as a normal brine solution. And we've got 5 kilos, or about 11 pounds of olives. So I'll just pour this water in. Okay, so that's it. Nice, salty, steamy, hot olives. And now, all I do, sort of settle them down, is put the lid on, seal, and that's it. We leave this now for 3 months. Okay, so about 90 days. We come back to it. So I'll see you in 90 days. 3 months down the track. I put the olives in on the 3rd of the 6th, and now it's the 3rd of the 9th. So exactly 3 months. And we go for the next step, which is a 24-hour process. Okay, so there we have really rich olive water. And all I do here is just the ones on the top, because they're usually, you know, kind of exposed for quite some time before they get to submerge under the water. So I just like to remove the few olives that are floating on the top. You know, they're usually okay, as a lot of people, they get a bit mushy. So so I just prefer to get these out. There's not many, and you know, you don't really lose much here, and it just gives me a much more uniform olive in the jar. So just the ones that are floating. Most of them are all actually, you know, sitting quite a few inches below the water. So otherwise, you know, you crack them out of the jar, and you know, you'll get a, you know, this just avoids getting, you know, soft, mushy. There we go. It's about all I can see. All right. So that's done. Now all I want to do is just drain the water out. A couple more. Yep. Yep, that looks good. Okay. Ooh, heavy. They look quite nice, don't they? Oop. Okay, I'll just go and empty this and keep going. A little bit of mushy stuff on the base. Okay. Okie dokie. So here we are. So obviously they get a little bit lighter at this stage, you know, and you know, to be honest, probably a little bit, yeah, I probably could have picked more of those ones that weren't as ripe, because some of them are, you know, they're quite soft, but that's the basic process anyway. So what I'll do now, I'll just go and rinse this, and then we'll go to the second step by putting them in large jars. Okay, nicely rinsed. I'll just grab a sterile jar here. I might use 2, we've still got quite a bit. These are 5-litre jars, in case you're wondering. It's just started to rain here, and 1 minute it was sunny, next minute it's rain. Typical Melbourne weather. Just divide it up. Okie dokie. So, two 5-litre jars. Whoop. Almost broke one. Okay, so now, just come down a little bit here. All we need now this is just a 24-hour process. What we need is just cheap white vinegar. Okay, buy the cheapest, biggest bottle of white vinegar you can get. Because we only need this vinegar for 24 hours. Okay. Oh. I'll just get some more. There we go. Just want to cover them. That'll do. Perfect. Okay, so obviously there are rubber ring gasket that goes on this, but we're not preserving in these jars. We're just storing them just for 24 hours. And then what I'll do is transfer these olives into, or drain the vinegar and transfer the olives into smaller jars that we can use when we want to eat them. Okay, so that's the next step. Olives rinsed, put into glass jars, make sure they're glass jars, and topped up with white vinegar. Now we just leave these for 24 hours. So I'll see you tomorrow, same time. 24 hours later, we're back. So obviously the olives have been sitting in the vinegar for this time. It's given a chance to sort of clean up any dregs or anything. And so now I'm just going to pour out the vinegar solution and then I'm going to transfer the olives into small jars. Give them a good little strain. We don't really want too much vinegar in there, and we'll just pop them into smaller 1 litre bottles, jars. Okay. Kind of want to pack them in a little bit. So, just depending on how many jars you've actually got. Okay. Going through the wrong one. Okay. Lovely. And I'll just keep going, and I'll fill up all these 6 jars. I'll drain this one as well. So I'll just show you not sure if you can see, but you know, you got little bits of sediment and all that. That's the vinegar's sort of cleaned out. So I'm probably going to be a little bit short on jars. I've only got 6 going, so I've got a couple more. The only thing is I have to just sterilize them. So all right. But you're obviously starting to get the picture. Okay. So what we're going to obviously do is top them up with olive oil. And you might think, well, you know, olive oil is quite expensive, but if you use olive oil, I can tell you that the olive oil that you'll get from these jars at the end, once you've finished eating the olives, is beautiful olive oil that you can use as you know, putting it on top of bruschetta or anything like that, marinating other things. You're just going to have a real concentrated, a beautiful concentrated olive oil at the end. So it's certainly not put to waste. You're actually improving the olive oil, and you're going to have some unreal flavors there. So we kind of want to put the olives under the lip. All right, well, I'll keep going here now, and I'll fill up these jars, and I'll probably get a couple more. Okay, well, I actually didn't need any more jars. My calculations were right the first time. So I've got them all into 6 1 litre jars. So reasonably tightly packed, not really tightly packed, but reasonably good. Simply because the olives are actually, you know, quite soft, so you don't want to squash them down or anything at this stage. You know, we want to keep the shape of them. So now you got the vinegar solution. So this is obviously, we're just going to throw that away, and it's done its job. Now I'm just going to start with some La Espanola extra virgin olive oil. Probably best to use extra virgin olive oil because this is like a edible kind, more of a tastier olive oil. You know, it's about as close to natural as you can get, so rather than a light or anything like that. But you know, it's up to you. Now what you can also do is, obviously you can put all kinds of herbs or anything you like. You can put chilies, garlic, just about anything, fennel, bay leaves and all that, but me personally, I prefer to just leave them kind of as is. I like to just have, you know, straight out olives, and then later when I'm actually eating them, you know, you can always then put other stuff in there, you know, salt, pepper. So we just want to get it up reasonably close to the top. Don't want to overfill them too much, because once we put the lid down we might actually get some spillage, but that's okay. So I used about, this is 4 litres, it's still over half full, so I probably used about 1.5 litres, getting close to 2 litres of olive oil. So, but if you buy your olive oil in a bulker pack, then you know, obviously you're going to get a little bit cheaper. So that's it. Now I've got a if I can show, I've got a nice bay tree there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick myself 6 bay leaves and top them in there. I'll just put them on the top. Okay, so I just put some nicely freshly picked bay leaf over the top, because bay leaf, you know, takes quite some time to infuse. You know, it's not the sort of thing you can just marinate and get that flavour. So what we're going to do here, the next stage, believe it or not, is actually letting them sit in this olive oil for 1 month. Okay, and from there, that's when we start eating them. Okay, so I just put the couple bay leaves. So during that 4 weeks, the bay leaves will, you know, will just infuse the olive oil a little bit, and that's all I want. I don't want any other flavours, you know. But if you do like, you know, things like fennel and stuff, by all means. Okay. Actually, I might just give them a little bit more oil. Like I said, we're not wasting any oil here. This is, it's going to be 10 times better flavour. And all you need to, you just get yourself some crusty bread and you dip it into this kind of olive oil. It's going to be unbelievable. So we're doing 2 things here. We're preserving olives and we're enhancing actual olive oil. All right. So that's it, guys. So all we do now is just let it sit for 1 month, 4 weeks, and then just open one and start eating them. And with the reserve olive oil, obviously you'll use that in cooking and salads and anything. So, but it's important now to leave it for 1 month, so that oil will infuse into the olives will infuse into the oil, and that's it. So we're done. So there's no canning or anything needed here. They're in olive oil. They're going to be preserved and protected, and we got beautiful olives. Now you might want to check in a 3 or 4 days time just to ensure that you know, the olives haven't absorbed any of the olive oil. You want to keep the olive oil at close to the top, covered. So just check it in a few days time to make sure that the oil hasn't dropped down. If it has, just top it up, close it, and that'll do you for 1 month. After that, you're going to have delicious olives. And so it seems like a long process, and the first time you do it, it really does seem like a long process, because you know, we first waited 1 month, then 24 hours in the vinegar, now another month, 3 months first, 24 hours, and then 1 month. So it's 4 months of you know, waiting till we actually can eat these olives. But the thing is, that's only when you do it the first time. You know, obviously the second time you do it, like next year, we're going to do the same thing, but it's assuming that we're going to have stocks of olives from the previous year. You know what I mean? So these olives are fine all the way up until 12 months, no problem. And you know, just out of the fridge, put them in a cool pantry. So yeah, so once you get to the second year, and then, you know, and so on, you don't really notice the wait time, because you're still eating olives from last year, so you don't need them. So that's the whole idea, is to you know, grow your own olives, and you'll just have a constant supply of olives, you know, depending on how many you eat. Obviously we don't eat that much, so one of these jars is, you know, probably 6 weeks for us. Just depends on what's going on. Sometimes it might take 2 months to finish off 1 jar. So we don't eat a lot, but just depends on how much I feel like prickling. I just wanted to do a little sample this year. I could have done probably twice as much, but next year I'll probably I'll do a bigger batch. But this is all I need for now. So yeah, don't be put off by the fact that it's 4 months of processing, because it's only really 1 hour of work, and the rest is just sitting there waiting for it. So yeah, second year you're not going to need olives immediately, because you're going to have last year's stock, and you just keep going like that. But I try not to keep them any longer than 12 months. So if I find I've got a few jars left, and it's getting close to 12 months, you know, then I'll start eating more of them. But anyway, I hope that was a little bit of fun, and gave you an idea on how to process olives. This is just one of thousands of different ways to process. I just find it it takes longer, but it's a lot less work, where you're not sort of slitting each olive, because that takes time and it's very tedious. I just like to do it as with little labor as possible, and I just enjoy doing it like this. So anyway, hope you enjoy this, and go out and do it yourself. Even go out and look for olive trees out in the parks or nature strips. Pick yourself some olives, and you can do it. And you can also do this with green olives. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, if you like more of a firmer olive, then I probably recommend doing it with green olives that are just starting to get a little blush on them. That would be beautiful too. The darker the olives, obviously, the more rich the olive oil will turn out to be in the end. But either way, it's going to be delicious olive oil, delicious little olives, and, you know, homegrown. You can't get much better than that. All right, guys, have a good time. Catch you next time.